Hi, this is Anthony Parent of Parent and Wynn LLP, and thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about Streamlined OVDP for those of you with unfiled FBARs and unreported income from abroad. We're just going to talk about what it is all about. We're not going to spend too much time. We're just going to give you a brief overview of some of the main questions people have, main concerns. And the first thing is, guess what? It's not OVDP. There actually is no such thing as Streamlined OVDP. OVDP stands for Offshore Voluntary Disclosure Program, which is actually a derivative of the old and actually still current voluntary disclosure program for people with unreported income, and they have some criminal exposure. The Streamlined program is actually streamlined processes. There's actually no protection from criminal exposure, but there really isn't any criminal exposure to begin with. So the OVDP is sort of like the big one, and there you go back 8 years. And the Streamlined, we'll talk about the years we're going to go over in a little bit. The Streamlined is a little bit more easy and a little less expensive, a little less intrusive, although it can add up a little bit. One of the questions we are asked all the time with Streamlined is how many years will the IRS want you to look back? The answer is 3 years of tax returns. For some people, it ends up being less because they weren't in non-compliance. If you weren't in non-compliance for more than 3 years, you don't have to do that. Also, you have to do your 6 years of FBARs. And then for some people, they don't have the FBAR filing requirements for all 6 years. So guess what? We don't do it. And just to clarify some things, this comes up all the time. If you had 10,000 offshore accounts worth $1 each, you would have an FBAR filing requirement. The requirement goes on the aggregate amount overseas. Not any one account has to be over $10,000 to have that filing requirement. Another related question to this is, can the IRS audit you if you do a streamlined process submission? The answer is they already can audit you. It's really not, if you have unreported accounts, you're just at much risk or more if you do not use one of the processes. And if you don't, you might have a little bit of uphill battle, and they might refer you to criminal exposure, even if you didn't do anything, just because somebody gets the wrong idea about you. That's one benefit of using the Streamlined process. You are able to get out in front of any problem. Big questions that come up is with the Streamlined penalty base. Now, this applies for people who are domestic only, right? There's two different kinds of the Streamlined process. One is if you live in the U.S., and one is if you live overseas, if you're overseas for 330 days or more. And actually, that's both husband and wife have to meet that test. If you live overseas, you are in the best possible position because your penalty base is nothing. That is, you pay zero if you live overseas. If you live in the U.S., you're going to have a 5% penalty on your year-end balances. People ask us, well, I live in, say, the UK, which doesn't follow a calendar year. We have a different fiscal year. We go by the U.S. tax law. We don't care about the UK, so we have to go by that December 31st balance. Whatever fiscal year the country that your account is in is irrelevant. Some other benefits of the Streamlined program over OVDP is that there's no rental real estate included in that penalty base. And also, it's not the high balance unless your year end happens to be the exact high balance. And that could have some significant advantages for people, especially those who might have transferred large sums in from the sale of some real estate. Another question we get is that 5%, let's just assume that you have to do the Streamlined domestic offshore procedures. Is that 5% negotiable? We're asked this all the time. No, that's the deal. If you don't like it, you do have options, and that options would be going full OVDP, going 8 years, and then opting out. But usually the issue is if you're going to go 8 years, you're going to owe 8 years of taxes. So any penalties that you reduce on this end is made up with more expense, more taxes on the other end, and plus your legal fees are going to be a lot more because you're multiplying everything by 8, not 3. Now, as I said, there was that Streamlined foreign offshore process. That's the good one, right? That's one where you pay 0%. Then you have the Streamlined domestic offshore procedures, and that's the 5%. So let's just say that now the qualifications for this are you have to be overseas for 330 days. We have people who are close. Oh boy, are they close. They're ever so close to that 330 days. Let's say that they're that they're overseas for only 320 days and they come to the U.S. for just 1 week. Well, that could be an expensive week, and they want to know, well, can I just break the rule, bend the rules? I don't want to break the rules. I just want to bend them. Well, call it what you will. Regardless, if you don't meet the test, you don't meet the test, and what you're going to do, you can do whatever you want to do. But isn't the entire point of going through these processes to clean up a past mess? The point of doing this is to put your tax problem behind you. How does this help you? By filing a certificate saying that you know what the law is and you are in 100% compliance with this. When you know it's not true, how is that helping you out at all? The answer is we don't think it is. And this goes for a lot of people. Because a lot of people, maybe they're so close to qualifying for an SDOP or SFOP, but they're missing one critical qualification. Because we do like to see people use the Streamline where possible because it is a lot less expensive. It is less onerous. But a lot of times it just doesn't work. So one of the things is you can probably find somebody who will bend the rules for you. But this is the problem that you run into. Both of these, both the domestic and the foreign, require that certification that you are fully aware of and fully in compliance of all tax laws. Why would you sign that if that's not 100% true? And this is really the question I would ask you. Aren't you better off doing nothing? At least there, you can argue some sort of plausible deniability. But here, they got your signature right there that you knew what you were doing. Which sort of leads into our final questions. And we're asked this a lot, and something is, can I do this myself? Is this really a big deal? To that, I would say, why would you sign anything you weren't 100% sure of? Taxation of foreign income is the most complicated thing in the history of history. Right? Nobody else taxes like the IRS does, and there's things that people don't know are actually taxable. Foreign pensions, just because something is non-taxable in Germany or Hong Kong or Australia, it doesn't mean it's not taxable by the IRS. Your foreign life insurance, the IRS probably doesn't consider a life insurance policy for purposes of life insurance policies, but it does when it comes to excise tax. Did you know that? Again, it's the most complicated thing in the history of history. By the way, the IRS posts the wrong tax treaties online. There was something. We found that the other day. The IRS uploaded the wrong US-UK tax treaty. We found the right one eventually. The right one was listed on the UK webpage. So there's something for you. Well, what if you got it wrong? And it actually was rather significant because it had something to do with foreign pensions. Again, to answer this question is why do anything unless you're going to do it 100% correctly? And this is the critical time. When you're in noncompliance and when you're going to do some sort of disclosure, whether a full OVDP or whether a streamlined, this is the critical part. And let's just say this, you've never seen your tax returns done correctly. So this is really where you want to get it done correctly. Maybe in later years, maybe you'll be able to find a tax preparer who can look at how they're done correctly, and then going forward, they can do it correctly for the rest of your life. This is Anthony Parent of Parent and Wynn LLP. Thank you for joining me in this on a little bit about what Streamlined OVDP, Streamlined Procedures are. If you have any comments, we get some of our best comments from people who email us some of their particular issues. Email us at info@irsmedic.com. If you have a pressing offshore issue, call our OVDP hotline at 888-477-4258. Again, thanks for watching.